to hear about all this earning. Whew. Love to see that cash back.
Hey YouTubers, Dre Crawford here, Recoveryone Drones. I put out a little introductory video earlier in the week, I think it was Monday, me receiving my DJI Maverick Enterprise Advance. And I promised I would do a follow-up video once I got a chance to do all the updates, because there's been about several updates this week, and we'll cover that later on. But I wanted to go over some things about the drone itself. Talking about the big thing about the drone is the updated thermal sensor and camera on the drone. It is now at the same equivalency of the H220 camera, which comes on the Matrice level drones, and it's definitely right there with the Autel Evo drone, which is at 64 times 512, 30 hertz frame rate. In thermal mode, it gives you 16 level zoom. And what I found out is that while you're flying, videotaping, both cameras are recording at the same time. So you just don't have just the thermal camera recording or just the RGB camera recording. Both cameras are continuously recording when you're in record mode, which comes to advantage, and I'll show you examples of that as we go on. Other than that, the regular camera, there's nothing to write home about, but this is a work drone. This is not a camera drone for cinematic shots. This is what I would put it as, just a work drone. It is there to really do inspection work, and that's about what it's built for. Overall, the basic RGB camera does do 4K at 30 frames per second, but you lose your zooming ability when you go to 4K level. So at 1080p, you can get up to 16 times optical and up to 32 digital, which basically tells you that you want to stay in the optical side of the zoom. That is what the clearest picture you're going to get. Once you start getting to digital zoom, pretty much any camera, you start getting artifacts, you start getting a blur, and everything else starts occurring. Okay, let's move on down the road a little further. As I take off my flight, you'll see here I'm approaching a solar farm from one of the local companies close by where I live. It's about maybe almost an acre of land that it sits on. And you'll see where I stop here, I set up the camera for recording, and then you'll see me switch it over to dual mode on the controller. Okay, and I continue my flight. Now what you see here, obviously you can compare both things, which gives a big advantage by being able to have a split screen. Having that split screen enables you to see things on a regular RGB camera side that may not be as clear on the thermal side, especially obstacles that you may run into as far as telephone wires and all that kind of stuff that will not show up on your thermal, but you can still see through the regular RGB. So it's good to have both of those simultaneously on your screen. Could lead to unintentional incidents or accidents in the long run. Now, right now, I'm using the black with the white hot spots version of this. It has a color palette of about, I think it's close to about 16 different color palettes you can use, depending upon the situation and how you want to interpret the data that you're shooting. Now, what I will do down the road is show you close-ups. Even here with the solar array, you see where I zoomed in, and I also will raise the drone up to about 400 feet and zoom in and zoom out because that was one of the knocks on the previous model, the DJI Maverick Enterprise Dual, was that you had to fly fairly low, I would say 200 feet and below, to get a good, sharp, detailed image of the ground. Well, you'll see here that even at 400 feet, that you still get a sharp, very sharp image of what's on the ground, even the thermal mode. And like I say, I'll break it down to you, show you just the thermal camera on screen, and then I'll show you the RGB footage on screen also. And I'm basically using this white hot formula here. It basically looks like a black and white picture. So it is an impressive thermal camera. I have to admit, I have not used thermal before on a drone, other than night vision, which I use in the military, which it doesn't even compare to this, compared to the dates when I was in the military into now. So I'm sure technology has pushed everything way further than what it was back in my day. Moving forward, we're going to come up on a grain tower here of a local facility by me, and I'm going to leave it in zoom mode, fly as close as I feel comfortable at first, back it out, and then you'll see me rezoom again, get a little closer to give you an idea of the detail that you can see at the various levels. I've been pushing in all the way to the digital mode, and you'll see where the picture starts to get a little grainy, and then I'll back it back out, do a little orbit around it, and go from there. The next thing I want to talk about is the smart controller. The Maverick Enterprise Advanced comes with a smart controller, and I never had a smart controller before. I've used Crystal Skies, so the picture itself I'm used to. Excellent picture, no problems there. I think what DJI just did in this week with their firmware update of the smart controller is probably one of the biggest game changers they have done probably over the last 2 to 3 years, including drones. I mean, they put out some drones in the last year that have been very impressive, but the smart controller was almost about to see its life expectancy to end if it was not for this firmware update that just came out. And with this firmware update, the smart controller has now been able to control not just 2 drones, but possibly up to about 6 or 7 drones, depending upon what you have in your inventory. It not only controls the Maverick Enterprise Advanced, but it also controls the Maverick Air S that just came out this week, and the Maverick Air, and it also is backwards compatible with the Phantom 4 version 2 drones. So that's quite impressive, because this having a smart control, like everybody says who's done reviews on before, it is an instant setup in the air under 2 minutes. You can be in the air ready to go. By the time you put the battery in, power up, that smart controller is powering up, it pairs up right away, and you're ready to fly. It's just that quick. So I think DJI has really stepped up to the plate, and I won't say hit a home run, but they definitely got a double or triple on this one. So I give them a tip of the hat on that with the firmware update, which we all know that the firmware is always the biggest thing in updating any of their equipment. It's just a matter of just firmware updates. Along that line, with the drone itself, the Maverick Enterprise Advanced, it does have the ADS system on it, so it will notify your aircraft in the area that do put out a signal, as the same as with the Maverick Air and Air S and so forth. So that comes built into it, and it would not surprise me as we start to get towards that remote ID that there could be possible firmware updates to support remote ID here in the United States. I believe that should be the way DJI should approach this, if all possible, because I'm a firm believer that the technology inside these drones is there for them to send out a signal. So I don't, other than doing a firmware update, I don't think that it should be a exterior or accessory to put on these drones, because to me, all you're doing is hurting the aerodynamics of the drone. and also you're hurting the flight time of the drones by putting on these additional accessories for remote ID. But time will tell, and then we'll find out what the FAA will finally finalize when it comes to that point, and see how DJI responds. And that's when we can go from there.
Recoveryone Drone. Let us be your eye in the sky.
It's here. The power and speed of Frontier Fiber 5 gig internet. That means
Recoveryone Drone. Let us be your eye in the sky.
Safety and training officer for the city of San Bernardino, out here doing a little cross training with our tree crew. We live in a high wind event area, and from time to time we need additional help. Our tree crew is very small, so we're cross trained today to bring on board additional manpower to help us take care of the down limbs and diseased trees across our city. So we're here to tell you we're training, we're getting ready to provide a better service model for our community. Thank you.
YouTube channel? Do you want to earn more views, more subscribers, more watch time, and of course, make more money?
As we come to the end of the first phase of the deconstruction of the Mount Vernon Bridge, we have an overview to look at what was and where we're at now. This first phase started in January of 2021 and proceeded through the following months. This iconic bridge that brought together the north and south side of the west side of San Bernardino. Has seen better days and is due for a definite upgrade, or I should say replacement. The next phase we'll be looking at will be what we call the infrastructure side, where all the utilities, power, water, gas, and electricity will be moved underground into different locations to bring services back across the railroad yard. So this is a final tribute to the Mount Vernon Bridge that has served this community for over 80 years. Hopefully the new bridge that will be constructed probably starting sometime at the end of this year or beginning of 2022 will bring another 80 plus years of service to the west side of San Bernardino.
Recoveryone Drone. Let us be your eye in the sky.
So cozy.
How many rooms are in there?
Should we go check it out?
Yeah.
Get to stay here all weekend.
When you stay at a Verbo,
I call doing the door code.
ride, Mr. Dog.
Time to slip in. Alrighty up.
Hey, this is Dre Crawford, Recoveryone Drone. I'm doing a little practicing today on my what I call my training course, which I'll be a little small clip of that. But what happened also is I was approached by one of the local campus officers off of the university campus, and he rode up on me and he's kind of gave me a nod once he saw what I was doing to fly my drone. I thought it was kind of odd that he continued on this little small walking path to get up to the observatory, but I took it as an opportunity to do a little manual tracking with my Phantom 3 Pro. So enjoy this little clip of tracking, and then I'll do another clip of my training path. Basically, it's a path that goes up on the side of a mountain, and the wind was blowing pretty good, so it was quite an effort trying to follow the path all the way to the top. So I got to a point where I got kind of stuck and had to come on out of it. But enjoy the clips. As always, please subscribe. Thank you.
And paying much less than you'd pay with TurboTax.
Evil does not sleep. It waits.
Hey, Dre Crawford here, Recoveryone Drones, out on another site. This is a 20-acre residential build I'm on right now, and the topic for today is situational awareness. Now, situational awareness doesn't just apply to drones and construction, just everybody. You're out as a hobbyist, you're out doing real estate. Situational awareness accounts for about 95% of the crashes that drone flyers experience. And people might say, we call it pilot error, we call it the mysterious tree branch or whatever. If you look at it over my shoulder, you see these telephone poles, okay? Power poles that run right through the middle of this project. Also, I'm gonna turn this way, and I don't know if you can hear it, but just over my shoulder now is the 215 highway. That is a situation you need to be aware of. So when you're conducting flight operations, you have to take into account all the different hazards that you may encounter, as far as it be traffic, highways, telephone poles, high tension wires, or even neighboring communities, which is over my shoulder now. I'm up in the far north end of my city. but you have to take everything into account. So in case you have a flyaway, you have something for your reason why your drone goes down, at least you are aware of what's around you at all times. And when you plan out your flight, if you're using autonomous software, like a Litchi, Drone Deploy, Drone Link, and a few others out there, you have to take into account on the elevation. Now, there's a location that I also manage up above me here, about 3 miles up the road, that on a slope, come right off the mountains. So I got to take into account of the elevation when I do an orbit around that the orbit's going to be very good on the south end of that flight. While in the north here, right against the mountains, do I have enough elevation to clear the natural vegetation? So these are the things that we always got to take into account when you're out there flying, especially in the drone industry. You also can have heavy lift cranes on site that can range up to about 300 feet themselves. So once again, this is Dre Crawford with some more drone construction tips, and this is about situational awareness. Always be aware, not just for other aerial things, but look for all the hazards when you go out to the site. Walk your site, know what's on your site, so you can avoid these situations, because sometimes there's even something low, and you hit the return to home button, and you remember, when you go return to home, the bird goes up. And that is, people have caught themselves crashing like that because they forget where they're standing might be under a tree or something. And the bird comes back, and where's it going to land? In that tree. So once again, this is Dre, Recoveryone Drones, for a quick tip in drone construction. Have a good day. Talk to you tomorrow.
baby. Wonder if all my bad decisions get accounted in the algorithms. No statistician could dissuade me from my bigger vision. I know my occupation's quite an unlikely place in this world to occupy and talk about upon a daily basis. Our information's predetermined by some biased business. We island sermon to Silicon that push out lovely neighbors. I'm done with paper chasing, think I'm on the bigger banquets. This that full circle, new wave, energy on a Tuesday. Turn a blue day to a bright hue, yellow with a smooth A in hair, extra fruit the brand. You can't move me, the music is man. It's a con job, but this grand. I'm blessed with a great hand amongst many that stand. And yeah, it took some hard work, but blind luck play a huge role. If they say that it don't, when they feeding you fool's gold. And if I know one thing, the truth's home. Even if it's a tough thing to swallow, an even harder thing to hold and truly know without a doubt while on the globe. And even though that seems inherent, it ain't always so apparent. Dangle carrot, you ain't always gonna get it. But don't worry, it's a pretty February in a year with more to carry, and more days is yet to come under the sun taking the ferry to the city, where the moment's extra pretty, like the people, like the idea that I keep inside my brain that isn't equal to the real world. All that stress ain't saving me fear though. I swear to God I'm trying. But they pushing their demons down my esophagus, screaming the easy life, what I want always. Praise made up holidays, tell me that love is the answer just to boost this economy. Buy more sell now, but I ain't following. I ain't a hollow man, I'm full of them fall winds. Take it all with a tall grin, and if you feel it, do it with me. And just sing what the song says. It all for what it is. It ain't all so bad. Take it all for what it is. It ain't all so bad. I think the snozberry's gonna taste like snozberries. It's gonna be pretty weird and mainstream. It's just another day amongst many. Wouldn't want to spend it any other way. Simple, friendly people bumping Benz in box with a cup full of Henny, selling smiles by the lot. There's some wholesale, that's the only thing I got. Well, except for drug-addled downer, always drowning in the pot. But let's skip the minor details and get the moving through the plot. It's a potluck, party popping off kind of song. This you go and tell your moms to play at junior prom. This a rolling backpack anthem like damn awkward was hard. This for my real ones eating Kit Kats, whole bar. This for my best friends who are falling in love. Hope your heart's ready for the best yet to come. This for my couch surfing kings. Yo, baby, what's up? I wrote you a song. You better throw this thing on. Take it all for what it is. It ain't all so bad. Take it all for what it is. It ain't all so bad.
I was down to talk to my doctor about Rubelsis.
Ask your healthcare provider about Rubelsis today.
Hey, Dre Crawford here, Recoveryone Drones. Hey, I appreciate all the recent support. As always, keep it up, hang on for the ride, and please subscribe. I'd like to give a shout out today to some guys who have been encouraging me, and I appreciate their support. Those guys out of New York City area, along with Paul Murray, Mikey of Philly Drone Life, and all the others who have been supporting my channel of late. Hey, I appreciate you gentlemen. Keep up the good work. I appreciate your live shows that you do and encourage me to get out and fly more often than what I was doing before. Good morning, YouTubers. This is Dre of Recoveryone Drones. We're out here in the San Bernardino foothills where we have the recent hillside fire. What we're going to try to accomplish today is see the aftermath of the fire and try to determine what future problems we may occur. As myself being a erosion control settlement inspector, these are the things that I have to look at on a yearly basis to determine the risk factor of possible mudslides and so forth that may occur, especially after a fire like this. Like most developments in Southern California that are in areas like this, we have existing storm drain systems in place throughout the foothills, but they can easily become overwhelmed and clogged with runoff and debris and burnt down trees, logs, and so forth, which will result in flooding throughout the neighborhoods that are in this area. So hang on here with me, and we're going to take a flight with my Phantom 4 and take a look behind the houses here, and you'll see some of the red phosphorus that was dropped by the firefighting crews that are up here, which did an excellent job. There is one home I saw yesterday. I'll take you by that to show the devastation of a fire and let you see how close these homes came to being destroyed.
HIMS helps guys take care. Whether you're looking for support for your mental health, performance in the bed.
Trey Crawford here, Recoveryone. Hey everyone, Dre Crawford here, Recoveryone Drones, out on a new job site today, and I've seen something I have not seen before, and I'll get to that in a minute.
Here's how I did this simple head tracking dance video effect. Let's throw the video into the comp, then pop over to the tracker window and hit stabilize.
Recoveryone Drone. Let us be your eye in the sky.
Hey YouTubers, Dre Crawford here, Recoveryone Drones. This little, bring you a little short clip. I don't know how short it's going to be, but when I go out and fly, usually there's extra footage that usually ends up on the, as they say, the cutting room floor. But I wanted to show you some of those clips that did lay on the cutting room floor and give you guys an idea of some of the background activities that take place that are caught on film, and give you guys an idea of what takes place when I fly, and I'm sure others who are out there who do videos on YouTube go through the same process of setting up cameras and different cameras and microphones and everything else. So this will give you an idea of what goes on that we may not show you on a regular basis. As always, fly safe, hang on, enjoy the ride, and please subscribe. Thank you.
Recoveryone Drone. Let us be your eye in the sky.
Stock up with super BOGO deals on your favorite items. Now through February 14th, buy one, get one free on...
Welcome, YouTubers. Trey Crawford here, Recoveryone Drones. We're out here on another site. This is going to be a year-long site of residential development that I picked up recently. So we're going to just see where we're at. to fly in this area, but due to the wildfire that it had about a month ago, it was issued a TFR, which has been removed. So now you have to get a unlocking from DJI. Now you see this little device in the back? This is part of my wireless setup right here that I have. And it's connected to my Tascam recorder, and it has the Movo wireless receiver in the back. And I have the other one on my hip, and the mic is attached to my lapel. And that's how I'm recording what I have right here.
A lot of people don't know this, but if you have the YouTube app on your phone, you could be using it to make up to 10.
Hey folks, this is Dre from Recoveryone Drones. Today we're going to talk about how to use Litchi to get some cinematic looks from your camera. Just a few tips of what I've learned to use. So as always, hang on, enjoy the ride, and please subscribe and leave a comment too. Thank you. First off, we're going to look at using the virtual Litchi program. I think it's one of the biggest assets when using Litchi altogether, that you can pre-plan your flights before even leaving the house. You can use the virtual Litchi on either iOS or Android, preferably on your desktop. What you see here in front of you is a planned flight going down my street in my development and heading down to my home. One thing about using virtual Litchi, you can set as many waypoints up to 99, and you can adjust the height. And if you use points of interest, which we're going to use my house as the first point of interest, which automatically tells the drone what direction to face. But you can always set the speed. I initially set the speed of my drone at 1 mile per hour, so it would slowly come into the house, just like a reveal. So you can, and the point of interest itself, you can adjust the height of the point of interest. As I'm lifting up on the drone here, the point of interest is only 3 feet high. So that's why when the drone lifts up, the camera automatically tilts down, looks back at the house itself as I'm pulling back away from it. The camera stays focused on the house. that's how you can get one of those cinematic shots of a pull away by using Litchi itself, because it can maintain focus and direction on the subject that you want it at. Now we're going to kick over to a live view. And one thing I always try to tell people, especially new pilots, don't be afraid to fly slowly. I did this deliberately to make sure everything's going to remain in focus. I'm flying with 100 ISO. Shutter speeds will range between 650 and 1000. And like I said, I'm pulling back at 1 miles per hour. And it gives a nice cinematic feel to the pullback of this neighborhood, to where it could be a closing shot or even an intro shot if I reverse the footage to where I was coming up on the house. Next, we're going to start heading towards our second point of interest here, which I live just across the street from a commercial industrial area and railroad tracks. From the last waypoint, which was my waypoint 13, going over to 14, I continue to fly at a slow pace. And the reason why I did this is this right here. I got lucky enough to catch some trains coming through. And sometimes, just like people say, you can have a still camera and let the action happen in front of you. This is the same thought process here. I'm gradually moving and letting everything else happen in front of me. The vehicles coming down the road, the train coming through. Now, as I said before, we're coming up on our second point of interest. Even though I'm catching all this other activity in front of my camera now, what's generally happening is the second point of interest is coming up and the camera is slowly creeping upwards to reveal the second point of interest. I'm going to let this play out a little bit and see how many of you notice it.
You balls for me, so you think. Woman, I said muffins. Did you ask if our food's ordered? I'm ready to eat. Big.
Now, several things are happening as we reveal the second point of interest, which is the grain tower on this dog food plant. I'm getting a wider view of the train tracks, the road, and now the grain tower comes into the picture, which is our second point of interest. And the camera slowly creeps up to reveal the rest of the valley that sits behind it. These are cinematic touches on shots. Now we hit our next waypoint. I'm going to speed the drone up to about 9 miles per hour. Now planning this out, I'm able to do this because I know what I want to do because I'm very familiar with the area. A lot of times people have to do this in post to speed up the footage. And sometimes it may catch other unrelated items unintentionally moving too fast. So you know the footage is being sped up or maybe even reversed. By me speeding the drone up, now I got the train coming through. I'm creating a parallax motion with the grain tower in the forefront and the rest of the scenery in the background moving. This was very for tourists for me to have that train come through to give me a different type of movement while the drone is coming around. Now you notice how I started further back on the back side of the tower. I got closer as I had the drone come around to the front to reveal more details of the point of interest. Usually when people fly, they orbit as a point of interest, they keep an equal rotation around the building. But using Litchi, you're able to put those waypoints a little bit closer to give you a different effect. And this is what I'm talking about right here. As I come around to the back side of the tower again, the drone is actually flying backwards at this point. And then give you another reveal shot of another part of the valley towards the mountains. And then we start to come and complete our orbit. And so looking up, another train's coming back through. This adds another element into the frame. And usually the trains that come through my area are very long. A mile-long train is not unusual. So flying only at 9 miles per hour, I get plenty of train shot in here, even as I'm about to transition to my third point of interest. You see how the drone is slowly pulling back away? And then I start my turn. All this flying very slow, 9 miles per hour, not very fast, and allows everything to stay relatively in focus. There's no great blur and there's no great jerkiness in the camera. And here we go. Our third point of interest is the solar farm. And you see how this transitions? And boom, now we're moving in another direction. And we start our third movement of a semi-orbit of this solar farm. And the same thing here. I'm on this side, giving myself a little distance, give a little context to the framing of it. You see the mountains in the background, the rest of the industrial area right behind it. And what I'm trying to grab here is let the panels create its own design, almost like taking pictures of a field of agriculture. You see the lines in the picture, creating their own patterns. Maintain that small bit of horizon in the backdrop. Not a whole lot of sky, they say about 25%. Now you notice I got those power lines over to my right side. I usually fly this area all the time, so I make sure I clean it up. So I come in tight right here. I make sure my waypoints are a little tighter, which allows the camera now to get in a little closer. So now I've got the same thing again with the tower. I gave you two perspectives. I gave you a wide perspective. Now I'm giving you a close-up perspective. And the same technique I use on the tower, I use here also. As the camera goes past the point of interest, you get that pattern again of the solar panels as it pulls away. Now, one tip about using points of interest, you don't want them too close together. You want to allow the drone to make a smooth transition from one point of interest to the next point of interest. You get them too close together, you'll get that jerky swing around motion. But having them spread out like this allows the drone to smoothly rotate around like I'm doing here. Nice smooth rotation, still only doing about 9 miles per hour. It's going to be our fourth point of interest coming up. And there's that long train coming right back into our picture again. This gives you a shot of the power lines. Those power lines are 100 feet in the air. So that's why right now I'm at 160 feet. To make sure I don't get any problems with the power lines. But I am descending as I come across the tracks. And this will give me a nice shot of the train passing by underneath me. So for 160 feet, by the time I come across the train, I'm at 78 feet and I'm still descending, and the drone is still slowly rotating around back into the neighborhood. And by the time I get to the first house that's in the neighborhood, I'm down to 38 feet. Remember, when we left the neighborhood, we left at 160 feet. Big wide shot, and they went down, coming back in close. So I use the same technique at each point of interest. Gave you a wide shot, a more close-in shot, and we finish this little trip with the same style that we started with. Hey, this is Recoveryone Drones, Ray Crawford. Thank you for tuning in. Hit the like button. It really helps out. Enjoy yourself. Have a blessed day. Fly safe. And please, fly within the rules. Thank you.